So good evening, or perhaps even morning for some of you who might be exploring this video in the morning, who knows. We are arriving here in Anahata, the heart chakra, as we are progressing through our 7 chakras. So this is week 4. You can always tell because you can count the chakras. And so obviously there's 7 chakras, but I do this in a 6-week block. I actually put the final 2 together because they're so subtle and they're not really a lot to do with the physical practices, and they become a lot more subtle and more about meditation and contemplations and things. So I put those 2 together. So I'm just going to explain what you're going to need in case you need to go off and get in. I think we're going to start our class in a supported fish pose. So if you don't have 2 blocks, you could have a rolled blanket and a thicker cushion or something like that. So one to go under the chest and one to go under the head. Or a couple of folded, blankets, towels, and things like that. So just, improvise if you don't have yoga equipment at home. You will also need for later on in class a bolster, a blanket, and probably a cushion or 2. So just have a bunch of things hanging around off the side so we can just go into it. I guess I'll just sit and chat for a bit about Anahata. I wasn't sure how I was going to do that, whether I have you in pose or not, but I think it might be easiest. So Anahata is the 4th chakra. It sits right behind the sternum. It's called the heart chakra in English. And the heart, obviously, in our physical body is a little lower and to the left, but the energetic heart is placed right at the center. So if you are wanting to connect, you might like to place perhaps your left hand on your heart and then the right hand on top. And you could just close your eyes and feel into this space as you listen to me talk about Anahata. This is the center point of the chakra system. And Anahata means unstruck or unbeaten, unhurt. And for me, this is signifying its sort of ability to transform, to heal, and to love unconditionally. This chakra is being the center of the system is referred to as the bridge, bridging the lower physical form-based chakras with the higher 3 spiritual formless chakras. So really the heart is the meeting place between heaven and earth. This, if we think of ourselves as a conduit, and this in the heart is the meeting place. The element of this chakra is air, hinting at the essence of its boundlessness, of the sense of freedom that a balanced and open Anahata can present to you. Physically, it governs our heart and our lungs, our circulatory system. It also governs the thymus gland, which has a lot to do with our immune system. So again, a balanced heart chakra, strong, open heart chakra, tends to give us a strong immune system. This chakra is obviously about love, but not the type of love, though it has this yearning, perhaps this strengthening, maybe the heart beatens, quickens to certain people in your life that you love more deeply, more dearly. But it's not really the sort of love that you might get, say, at Swadhisthana. This is a more attraction-based, more gratification-based, more pleasure-based love. Whereas the love coming from Anahata is more spiritual, it's more boundless, it's more unconditional. And here we have the ability, of course, it governs our ability to love, to forgive, to be generous, to be forgiving, I've already said, compassion, kindness, trust. All of these is acceptance, is tolerance, all of the things that we equate to a good-hearted person who has this capacity to just give and to care and to love regardless. And this isn't just from one human to another, but this is for all life. When we really have this open chakra and we begin to connect in that way, then we really begin to see as all life as part of who we are, and to have compassion for animals, but also for trees, nature, and waters, rivers. We begin to really care about the greater whole. So when we're imbalanced here, we can feel very at ease with ourselves and others. We tend to have a good humor. We're very forgiving, very caring, passionate, compassionate, generous, and easygoing. But when it's out of balance, and this chakra here, of course, is very prone to hurt, very prone to trauma. From a very young age, we are always seeking love. Humans really need love. We seek love. And if we feel like we're not given that love, say from parents or from people that we've come across along the way, then we can get very hurt. And if we lose people we love, of course, grief is a very painful thing as well. So we can end up having quite a broken heart or a very closed down chakra. And this can turn into mistrusting people, to being overprotective, to being cold-hearted, to feeling disconnected, depressed, resentful, bitter. On the other side, it can be that you become overgiving, that you just, wanting to please everybody too much at the cost of your own health, or perhaps even becoming a little bit of a martyr or a little bit sanctimonious. So if you feel any of these words resonating, even in a small bit, it doesn't mean that, wow, you're only like that, but we can have all these small bits of our total experience of life that has accumulated, that can have aspects of this, not forgiving someone who hurt us, or being very, very careful in love after a traumatic breakup or something like this. So in yoga, we are going to work with this through mostly a passive way. Obviously, it's working with the chest, opening the chest, creating space for the lungs, and to work with the arms and shoulders, which are part of this system as well. So as we receive love, as we give love, it's done through the expression of our arms and hands. So how we give presents, how we hold someone, how we hug someone, it's all done through the expression of the arms. So this is a very, very connected, oops. I've got this new way I'm doing my, holding my stand. I think it could be dangerous, but let's see how it goes. So we're gonna start in our supported front pose. So you can just shake out your legs if you've been sitting for a while and cross-legged or anything. And we're going to place one of our blocks on its low side and one of the blocks on its side. They're about a foot distance apart. And I want you to be very careful about the placement of this as we come to hold for a little bit. We're placing that bottom block right really where our bra strap is. So the bottom of this, the end of the block, is starting where the bra strap is. And as we lay down on it, the shoulder blades really are completely supported by it. And then we tuck the other block right in under the base of the skull. So right at the top of the neck, base of the skull. And then that just slightly tucks the chin in, makes the back of the neck nice and long. And we just allow the arms to come out wide along the side of the body. I did want to say also, if you have eye bags, it would be good to have an eye bag for the last part of class, that we can think about that. Maybe you just know where there is, or maybe you will place a little scarf or something over your eyes, but some weights would be nice. Anyway, it's not essential, it would just be just a little better. You can have the knees bent, particularly I'd recommend this if you have any lower back pinching. Equally, you might have the knees bent for a while and you might then want to straighten them halfway through the process. I would recommend that you just really go with what's feeling, what in instinct, but please make sure the tail is long and the lumbar back is spacious. Begin by taking a deep breath in through the nose and sigh the breath out slowly through the mouth. You might like to repeat that once or twice more as you allow the body to begin to relax. And please, if something becomes uncomfortable, please adjust it. I want you to be really comfortable here. We won't hold overly long, but probably another 5 minutes. So make sure that your body can handle that. And then after taking a few of those hard breaths, the exhaling through the mouth, you can just reseal the lips. Perhaps continue with a slightly deepened breath that feels sustainable and nourishing for you. And as you exhale, trying to soften those front bottom ribs so they drop a little back into the body. You could drop your knees into the center so they support each other. And then I'd like you just to slowly, on an exhale, drop your chin down to one side. And use an inhalation to bring it back to the center. The exhalation drops it down to the other side. Really slowly, and just feeling all the different experiences there, the nuances of movement from side to side, just repeating it perhaps once, or if you're moving a little faster than me, you might be able to repeat it twice more. And then just allowing the head to come back to the center. Allowing the breath to relax and soften. Features of your face to relax and soften. And the front bottom ribs to relax and soften. And when you're ready, I'd like you to begin to inhale, imagining that the inhalation is coming directly into the chest, directly into the sternum. And as you continue to inhale a nice, full, steady inhale, feel it open up, create space within the cavity of your chest. And allow the exhalation to soften out through the shoulders and run down the arms, perhaps all the way to the hands, out of the hands and fingers. So the inhalation is a direct inhale through the sternum, through the heart center. As we continue a deepened inhale, we create space and openness through Anahata, through the heart chakra, through the chest cavity. And as you exhale, you feel the shoulders relax. You feel the the breath run down the arms and to the hands, to the fingers, and perhaps you'll begin to feel it sort of like seep out through the heart of the hands. So the inhale through the chest, creating space, openness. And the exhalation soothing out, releasing through the chest, the shoulders, and running down the arms into the hands, fingers, and out of the palms. So like you're bleeding energy out of the palms. If you feel depleted, you might even like to imagine that it's released out of the palms, but doesn't actually disperse into the air. Almost as if it could circulate back in on the next inhalation. And the exhale running down through the shoulders, down the arms, through the hands. You might begin to feel your hands warm up, and sometimes we can feel the throbbing of the energy in the palm of the hands. And our hands and our touch can be so incredibly healing for ourselves and for others. So connecting to that heart-based energy where we put our loving intention into the hearts and express it out through the hands. And you might feel that pulsating, vibrating energy of your heart begin to, pulse out of the hands. And then just letting the breathing go. Again, if you feel that you would benefit from rolling your head down to one side and then the other, then please do that. You might like to just lift your feet off the floor, keep the heels down, but the rest of the feet, and just wriggle your ankles. And when you're ready, you can simply roll on to a side and push up with that arm. And from there, just take your blocks and place them to one side. And we're simply going to do a little counter pose, having the knees still bent and the feet really nice and wide. So we can just lean into the thighs. You can hook onto your own hands, or you can place your hands on your ankles or wherever they feel good. Drop the head in a little, the chin in towards the chest a little. And just round really gently and simply through the back. And breathe at least 3 deep breaths into the back body. You could exhale through the mouth if that was useful. You could also here again swing the chin from side to side a couple of times just to release a little bit more through that neck, or really stretch the crown of the head forward and then down. And then as you're ready, come to sit in a cross-leg position let's start with our left leg in front of our right. And if you needed something to sit on, you could maybe grab a blanket. If you feel that a little bit of height under the hips, under the sit bones is useful. So find your seat, find your grounds, coming back to Muladhara, the first chakra, the root system, keeps us grounded, keeps us connected to earth. Feel your sit bones, even your perineum. As you breathe in, you might feel that expansion, this opening of the perineum that presses gently sort of into the floor. Could even imagine roots beginning to grow out of your sit bones and tailbone. From there, lengthening up, finding that sense of ease and grace through the body, the breath moving with ease, flowing like a river, and that slight, even if it's just an inner undulation of the breath, of the spine, of the joints, feeling really at ease through Swadhisthana. And then that lift that helps really ignite this lengthening, this upright, bright, sharp, alert posture, the fire of Manipura. And then we come into the heart, into the chest, expanding and beaming out. And you can feel that energy through perhaps the shoulders. Find that lengthening down the arms. Hands on the side, just reaching out or gently pressing into the floor. I like to be on my fingertips with that. And I can really feel that lengthening up, those nice clear lines of energy through my body. And then we bring our hands into prayer at Anahata, heart center. And as we keep all of that groundedness, that fluidity, that alertness, we inhale and allow the arms to rise up and overhead. And as we exhale, we turn the palms away from each other and stretch the arms out to the side, all the way down to the earth, as we bring them back up the center line into the heart and continue on. Inhale, rising above the head as we ground down, turning the palms away from each other and exhaling as we take our wings wide. Hands come back into prayer at the heart center and inhale, rise. And exhale. Last one, hands come in, inhale to rise. And as we exhale this time, we're going to bring the right hand to the floor and we lean to the right with that left arm. And as you begin to lean to the right, you might like to really relax and ground down that left hip, that left thigh. And if this is really strong for you, you could inhale and partially come up, and exhale and dip in a little deeper, and then inhale, partially come up, and exhale, dig in deeper, bending the elbow, trying to keep the shoulders drawing gently away from the ears, shoulder blades coming down the back. And then if you are doing any little pulsating, just holding there for a moment, you might need to tuck the chin in slightly and then just find the right point of gaze so your neck is really comfortable here. Take one more breath there. Pin that left hip down as you breathe all the way from that hip to your fingers. And then as you exhale, just release the arm down across the face, across the chest, and then lift that right arm and just hook it in on the forearm of the left hand arm. And then the palms are facing towards you. And you're just going to gently pull that in, just gently pull it in. And at the same time, you're going to start pulling that left shoulder back and down, and then lengthen up, drawing in gently from that lower navel into the crown. Take one breath here, breathing into the left shoulder, whole shoulder girdle. And then as you exhale, just releasing nice and slowly. Hands can come to the floor on either side of you once again. Take a breath in. And obviously release the breath out. And then we're going to take that right leg and just bring it forward, taking it so it's in front of the left now. Making any little adjustments you need to in your seat, and then root down again. Find that nice grounded, supported posture all the way from Muladhara to Anahata, with all the chakras lining up one after the other. And we bring our hands into prayer. And this time we're going to come straight forward. And as we inhale and shoot the hands out in front of us, we're going to turn our thumbs into each other and then down to the floor. Back of the hands come together. And we exhale and take the arms wide. And then as we come towards the back, we turn them in and inhale forward and rotating at the same time. And exhale, pushing back almost like a swimming action. And then inhale forward and rotating the arms. And exhale, swimming back. Inhale forward and rotating. Exhale. Last one. Inhale forward and rotating. And exhale, pushing back. And then inhale, just the right arm up, left arm down. And we exhale and lean to the left. And as we begin to lean to the left, we try and make that right thigh heavy. Begin to pin that left sit bone down, left hip down. And again, if this is quite a challenge for you, you're going to have this little pulsation. As we inhale, we slightly lift. And as we exhale, we deepen in. You can, of course, just be in stillness if that feels right for your body. But at some point, it would be nice to just stop and stretch so that left hand can be in support, pressing into the floor. Try and even out the hips as best you can so they're both pressing into the floor fairly evenly. And breathing into that right side, the right ribs. And again, if you need to, a little tuck of the chin and just finding that perfect place. So don't over tuck the chin, don't over tuck. It wants to be in line with the rest of the spine. Take one more breath there, pinning that right hip down and reaching into your twinkly right fingers. And as you exhale, you lift up and drop that right arm down and across, and you can just hook it in, draw it in towards you, palms facing towards your face or behind you. And then just begin to pull that right shoulder back so we're not overstretching. That elbow is going to remain straight, Heather, if we can manage that. Straighten that right elbow. The arm comes not like bent, but if we can, maybe you are. Okay, it's the angle of the camera. Breathe into the shoulder. Take one more breath. And then as you exhale, just releasing carefully down. Hands can come to either side of the hips. You might like to keep a light on the hands so we come onto our fingertips. And that way we're not relying on the hands too much, but we really have to rely on that inner internal lift that we can get, starting all the way at Muladhara, all the way at the perineum, and engaging up into the lower belly, into the solar plexus. And as you find this nice length through the spine, this, you know, we're meeting in the center between heaven and earth. And so we really want these opposing forces coming out. I don't ever really think about it coming from, you know, from the heart up. Usually it's the hips are down, you know, the waist is coming up. So however it works for you, and we're working with chakras, we can work slightly differently. But drill the, the tail, the lower spine down towards the earth as you lengthen up through the crown towards the sky, towards the heavens. On an exhalation, you can just drop the chin in towards the chest and use an next inhalation to take the right ear to the shoulder and lifting the chin up and back as you exhale. Come over to the left, crossing over, tucking the chin in on the exhalation. And the inhale as we drop the head against the right, lift the chin. And exhaling over to the other side. Oh, however it is inhaling, I forgot. After a couple of rounds, you can change the direction, inhaling up and exhaling down. Any particular spot you would like to spend just a little extra time on, you can do that. Just in any way that you intuitively feel is right. Oh, there is so much in the neck, Oh dear. And when you're done, you can just roll it out through the shoulders, any other little thing that feels right for you. And then when you're ready from there, we're going to gather a few more things. We're going to grab our bolster and place our bolster just out in front of us. If you have blocks, this isn't absolutely essential, but if you have blocks, you could put them out in front of the bolster. If you had a couple of firm, high, cushiony things, you could also use those. And then we're going to just have our blankets and any little cushions or extra rugs and things close by, because we're going to maybe use those in a bit. So I'm just going to get rid of this distracting thing. We're going to do like an Anahata posture, but with some support. So we're stretching into the shoulders. So this is why the blocks on the other side can be quite good. We're going to reach our hands to the blocks across the bolster, and the elbows will be supported on the bolster, but move back enough that your bum is high and your forehead can rest on the other side of the bolster. Your hands may lift up a little bit, so you could just drop your fingertips to the blocks. And we begin to drop the heart down. Now, you can rotate your inner arms outwardly and then rotate them slightly inwardly and slightly outwardly. And then from there, begin to find the middle ground, the middle place that you're comfortable with, that is integral for your shoulders. And then you scoop that lower belly in. You keep hugging the shoulders back into themselves with your mid-range. You're finding the middle ground. And then just begin to gently roll the sit bones up, drop the ribs and heart down. Not going to go that far here. You can slightly press those elbows into the bolster as well, just for a little bit of extra support. Nice breath in. Nice breath out. Creating space through your shoulders, through your heart. And finding that balance between supporting yourself and letting go. It's a strong stretch, so we won't stay too long. As we come out, I want you to really suck in that lower belly and begin to tuck the tail under in order to support yourself coming out of there. And we're just going to come out, press into the left elbow, or if you need to see what you're doing, it could be the opposite, so it doesn't really matter, just as long as you know what side you're on. And then we're going to thread the opposite arm. For me, that's the right arm in under. I'm going to lean on my head onto the bolster and then just lay that arm along the bolster, along the floor, and I'm supporting myself. My shoulder hasn't quite reached the floor, but my arm is on the floor and my head is right tipping at the end of the bolster, so my head isn't too high, my neck isn't very bent, so I don't want you to be uncomfortable. And try and even out those hips. This is nice. Yes, very good. Breathing there. Relaxing into it as best you can. Deep, careful breaths. And then it is a deep stretch. So again, we're going to really super carefully come out, tuck the tail under, and you can just bend that elbow, press it into the floor, come out carefully, and then swap the arms out. So placing the other arm on the bolster, threading that, for me, it's the left arm through, taking the left temple or side of the head to the bolster, and resting the arm on the floor, supporting yourself with pressing the other elbow into the bolster. Hips are high, belly is scooping in. Draw that right shoulder or the extended arm on the bolster. Draw that shoulder away from the ear a little, create a little bit of space if it's getting a bit all caught up. Some nice deep breaths, or if you prefer, some natural breathing. And then very carefully, tucking the tail in, coiling in through your center, bending that elbow, pressing it into the floor and supporting yourself, and just coming to sit on your heels and just closing the eyes and feeling into the body. Baby boy, just relaxing through the shoulders. Any then natural release through the head, through the shoulders, you can do. And then from here, we're going to need our blanket, and at what height you have your blanket may just depend on you. So you could have it so it's, I've got this extra fold, so it's extra thick. I probably don't need that, but you might. So if you don't need the extra lift, and you'll see what I mean soon, you can unfold it, have it a little less. And I'm going to use my little mini bolsters here. That dog is trying to make a nest out of all my yoga equipment over there. I'm not going to use these blocks, but you could use one block and a bolstery thing, I guess, for some of this, not for all of it. I'm going to just place one there at the other side. And I'm going to lay down on my side so the ribs are coming right onto the bolster. And my arm is along, in line with my ear, out over my head, and it's being supported by a folded blanket or rug or cushion. And you could let the head hang like that, or if that is uncomfortable for your neck, you could grab another little something, folded rug or little cushion, and place it in between the arm and the head. Now that left arm or the top arm can come over, also in line with your ear, over the heads, and you can hold it there for a little while. However, I have to say that would probably, you might get pins and needles, it might become uncomfortable, or it might even just be too much to start with. And if that's the case, you can just bending the elbow and having the hand just draped over the front of your ribs, and continue to just slightly bring that shoulder back so you're still very open-hearted. But here we're really working on the ribs, so we're working with enabling the lungs to move more freely, to enabling a deeper breath. That's what we're doing here, because Anahata is governed by the element of air. And so, of course, one of the big ways that you can work with this chakra, to balance this chakra, is through breathing practices, which if I'm not careful, you will run out of time for. So it may not be so long here. If you're doing this on video, of course, you could pause if I'm coming out a little sooner than you would like. But please remember, we've got another side to do, so even it out properly. I'd like you to begin by keeping nice and on the side. So the expression of this posture, of this pose, is really felt in the ribs. Maybe felt elsewhere as well, but predominantly we're trying to stretch the ribs out. And once you have that, I'd like you to deepen the breath, breathing as if you were a fish, remembering back to a long time ago when we breathe through our gills. Breathe in and out of the ribs. Gently encouraging space. Gently being able to release tension. Being present. The ebb and flow of the breath moving in and out of the ribs. Remember, if it gets too much, you can always bring the arm back in line with the shoulder. And then just slowly bringing the arm, if it's not already, to the torso. And just roll onto your front, straightening the legs out if they're bent. And finding your way to the other side. You'll need to step back into the middle of your bolster. Place the left ribs or the other side onto the bolster. I like to have my knees bent. Keep my hips nice and stable and pretty much in line with my shoulders. And then reaching that right arm up and over in line with my ear as well, so my hands perhaps touch. It's okay if none of that works for you. It can be just however you need it to be. Once you're in, just commit to that for a few breaths, even if that's all you can manage with the arm overhead. Come back to the breath, the awareness. Breath flowing in and out of the ribs. The mind begins to wander, just notice what you're thinking about. Be aware of your thinking. Just gently let it go and come back to the rhythm of your breathing through your lips. So taking another 1 or 2 breaths, really breathing fully into the ribs, trying to get as much space, as much breath in. The exhalation is a relaxation as we allow that top arm, if it's not already, to drop back alongside the torso. And now this time we're rolling onto our back. And we're going to place our shoulder blades, much like we did before, onto the bolster. And this is if you have a thinner blanket, you could at this point, make that a little bit higher, particularly if you've got any lower back issues. I think my equipment's just been taken by my doggy. Okay. So this is where you can have a block under a cushion if you needed it. I really would like you to tuck in any support you have into the hook of your neck. The throat opens, the head drops back and the throat opens a bit here, and the arms come out in crucifix style on either side of the body, on the top end of the bolster. Tail is nice and long. But I do want that neck nice and supported so the weight of the head can drop back, but the neck has got all the support that it needs to be comfortable. And then we're going to lengthen our legs down together so they're one long pole, as if they're strapped together at the feet or around the legs themselves. I want you to draw your feet, your toes back towards your shins, and then begin to press the heels into the floor and then pull the heels back towards your body a little bit, and that will straighten the feet up so that the feet are pretty much in line with it themselves, as if they're up against an imaginary wall. Now we need to keep a certain amount of activity through those legs in order to keep the feet like that. However, you don't need to over effort that. It's just this mild pressing of the heels into the floor and drawing them back or hooking them back in towards the body. And you'll feel that gently stabilize the belly, supporting the lower back, and then just allowing your arms and shoulders to completely relax and rest. And once again, we come back to the breath. This would be nice to have the eye blanket, eye pillow for the eyes, and I did forget to mention that. If you have one, we could use it for Shavasana. Here, you might like to feel the breath really entering through the belly and riding up into the chest, into the shoulders, and through the arms. And the exhalation is just this releasing, surrendering. So as we breathe in from the belly and expand in as we continue to inhale through the ribs and up into the chest, feel it in all three directions. It's a three-dimensional experience. You'll feel the back ribs pressing into the bolster as the breath expands. The ribs pulling out towards the arms, side ribs pulling out towards the arms, and the front ribs lifting, front chest expanding. And everything melting back into itself in the exhalation. And you may find that the crucifix arms gives you pins and needles after a while, some tingling. You can just bend the elbows and place your hands. They probably land on your breast or, somewhere like that, maybe the lower ribs. Doesn't really matter where they land. Just let them land and you'll find that any aggravation in the circulation there is soothed. And you can continue breathing into the belly, finding the breath, drawing it up the body through the thoracic, through the ribs and into the chest, back shoulders, collarbones, chest. The exhalation is a surrender, a melting, a softening. few more rounds of this breath, moving from the belly into the ribs, up into the chest, expanding fully and deeply, pushing its way into any darkness, into any overcontraction, any dullness, disconnect, hardness. And if it's useful, you could imagine that the breath is also bringing illumination, bringing brightness and light, like lighted particles being breathed into and melting away any resistance and lighting up any darkness. So one more round of that breath. Full exhalation. Bring your hands in if they're wide. And bend your knees. If you need to, you could press the feet into the floor and lift the hips and just have a little wriggle from side to side, swinging the tail from left to right. And then simply coming onto one of your hips, onto the side of your hip, and then pressing up, rolling onto that side and pressing up. From here, we're simply going to whiz around. Taking the support of your bolster and anything else that you might like. I don't really like this blanket. I'm going to just have it still though, so it's touching my bottom ribs. Maybe those little mini bolsters can support the lower legs a little bit more. And this is where it would be perfect to have an eye flow. Turning the palms up so they face heaven. But drawing those shoulder blades into each other, into the midline of the body. Keeping the tail, the flesh of the buttocks nice and long, or the tail long and the flesh of the buttocks towards the heels. Releasing any excess of anything, any excess thinking or feeling, dullness, cloudiness, overstimulation, tiredness. And begin to find your equilibrium. You might like to also find that equilibrium through the breath. You don't even have to count it, but just to find that steady, even rhythm. The inhale and the exhale basically matching each other. Features of your face soft. The eyeballs dropping back into the sockets. The tongue dropping back into its mouth. The body dropping back into the earth. And as you feel the breath gently flowing back and forth within your body, bring your awareness to your heart center. Right behind the sternum. Take a moment to really dive into that area of your body with your awareness. And really feel into the vibrational tone here, the feeling of that area. What is your experience here? Does it feel heavy and hard? Does it feel like a small iron bowl? Does it feel light, expanded? Something in between. Do not judge yourself. Do not critique this experience. Simply be willing to acknowledge what it is you're truly experiencing as you place your attention here. There is no shame in any heartache, in any protective behavior. But this is such a powerful center. It is a shame to live our life with it closed or half closed, when that can really alter the experience of our life on this earth. So as you find your breath again, begin once again, and you don't even have to breathe particularly deeply. Still do this with a natural breath. As you inhale, imagine you're inhaling directly into Anahata, your heart chakra. And as you do, begins to grow a beautiful, vibrant, emerald green color. Each time you inhale, that color illuminates more fully. The center grows and gently expands, a soft, pleasant, nurturing vibration. And I want you just to repeat silently in your mind the mantra Yam. You might even repeat that mantra internally on an exhalation. Yam. 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 Just letting go of the bija sound, yam. Just letting go of any breathing control. And expand your awareness into the wholeness of your body. Letting the energy of your heart chakra expand out and beyond the physical realm and out into the aura surrounding your body. Letting the power of this chakra fill you entirely. You might like to just begin once again to deepen the breath. Perhaps to come back into the physical body, feeling flesh and bones of your own body resting on the floor. Just beginning to gently stretch into fingers and toes and move into the wrists and ankles. And then any other movement, any other stretching, rocking, rolling, squeezing, breathing that feels right for you, or if stillness feels best, then you can simply roll on to a comfortable uninjured side as you're ready. You might like to bring your hands into prayer and then place the left hand first on top of the heart, and then the right hand over the left. And once again, connect. And if you're having trouble, you can just gently pull the hands away just a little bit. An inch or so away from the heart. So you can begin this little pulse back and forth, until you perhaps begin to get a sense of the resistance, as if there's a bubble of air or a socket of air, or that magnetizing, effect that you have. Sometimes we can feel that. And the heart has this incredibly strong electromagnetic force of it, 5,000 times stronger than any other part of our body. And our heart also has 40,000 neurons, which makes it actually, by scientific, acknowledgement, a brain. So it is an incredibly powerful place, and one that we can really use as a way to guide us in life, because it has one foot in the physical world and one foot in the spiritual world, which makes it a very powerful place to help make decisions. If you'd like to work with this chakra this week, you can go online and look some things up if you would like to dig a little deeper. Or you can work with doing some breathing practices, being aware of your breath. You can also work with walking in nature and connecting to nature. Is always incredibly healing and brings us back to our heart. and spending time with people that you love and care about, and really trying to have that more unconditional love. Notice how you do speak and treat people, particularly those closest to you, because they tend to get the brunt, the worst of us. And also, you could try a little random act of kindness to a stranger. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed class. I hope your heart feels open and expanded. And I hope this takes you beautifully into your weekend. Namaste.